Yep, it's paper and pencil, which means I'm going to be explaining something. Yo, what's up? I'm Ian255, and I decided basically to do what I said I was going to do yesterday and explain why Scotland's position is so good. But I realised to do that I'm basically going to have to explain the whole UEFA coefficient qualifying fiasco thing. So I decided that would be best to do over multiple days. So today I'm basically just going to explain how you get qualifying points. Now, qualifying points, or QPs I'm going to call them, basically determine your ranking. This was a bad idea. For qualifying for the Champions League and the Europa League. And also, well, first of all, get that right. First, also the Europa Conference League that's launching the year after next, but we'll ignore that for now. Basically, there's a few things you need to know. During qualifying, for every win a team in your nation gets, that nation gets 1 point towards its coefficient. Every draw gives half a point, that's 0.5, and a loss gives you nothing. And basically, the only caveat of that is you may be thinking, okay, what if your tie goes to extra time penalties? During extra time, wins and losses do count. So basically what that means is if your team wins during extra time, then that will count as a win for the coefficient. But penalties result in a draw, no matter the result of the penalty shootout, so that'll be half a point to each nation. And basically, apart from that, when you get to the groups onwards, everything doubles. Everything is times 2, so you get 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and still 0 points for a loss. And then there are other bonuses to add on top of that. For example, if you qualify for the Champions League groups, your nation gets 5 coefficient points for each team that does it. So if you're in like England, for example, and you get 4 Champions League teams automatically, then that's 20 coefficient points that you get without even trying. I have just mentioned that wrong, however, it's actually 4. So that would be 16. I'm getting myself confused because if you make the Champions League round of 16, you get 5 points. So if England were to get 4 teams in the round of 16, then that would be an additional 20 points for them. And they, I may mention, do not count in the Europa League. But what does count in the Europa League and the Champions League is that for each of the quarterfinals, the semi-finals and the finals, if a team from your nation makes it to each of those stages, then for each stage they will get 1 additional qualifying point. So that gives you a pretty complicated thing already, but then it all comes down to dividing, because each nation's qualifying total, the total qualifying points, is then divided by the number of teams that started qualifying for that nation at the very beginning. So for a nation like England, that would be 7 teams. So let's say England got of, I don't know, like 50 points. Divide that by the 7 teams they had at the start of qualifying, and that's like 7.1 odds qualifying coefficient points that they get in total. Now, obviously, I'm massively underestimating England's potential there, but also it's just an example. If, like, I would say Scotland at this point have 30 coefficient points. Divide that by the 4 teams who started qualifying for Scotland: Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, Kilmarnock. We have 7.5 coefficient points for this season. Then, to get the coefficient total that's used to determine your ranking, they add up the totals from the past 5 seasons. So that will be this season, last season, season before that, season before that, and then one last season, in this case 15-16, is as far back as it goes for determining this year's rankings. And yeah, that's all I have to say today. It's a massive mess, as you would expect, but that's how you get points, and adding up these points for the past 5 years gives you your total, which is then used to determine the nation's rankings, which are then used to determine qualifying spots, which I will be explaining tomorrow. That's a bye for now.